Hello, grade 6 math enthusiasts. I hope you are all doing well and safe. Today, you will be spending your time to make learning fun and madali. Today is another day to learn and enjoy interesting problems in Mathematics 6. Are you ready, grade 6 mathematics? Woo! What? I can see that you're all excited. Your lesson for today is about finding the missing term in a proportion, direct, inverse, and quartic. I am Teacher Nadia, your teacher for today's Math Talakayan. Mathematics is fun and madali, kaya huwag matakot. Before we begin, let's go back to the previous lesson. I know that you have already learned the skills. And because of that, get ready for Magtanong. Show me a happy face if the given ratios are proportional and a sad face if not. Ready? Great! Here we go.
Matanong number 1. 3:4 is equals to 6:8. Is it a proportion or not? Happy face or sad face? Very good, kids! It is a proportion. 3 multiplied by 8 is 24. 4 multiplied by 6 is 24. The product of the means and the product of the extremes are equal. Matanong number 2. 2:3 is equals to 1:5. Is it a proportion or not? Happy face or sad face? Sad face. That's correct. It is not a proportion. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 1 is 3. The product of the means and the product of the extremes are not equal. Good job, kids!
Wow! Woo! That was awesome! Is Teacher Nadia matanong? Don't worry, I am here to guide you. It's good that you already know what a proportion is. And now, let's spice it up as we start our new lesson for today. Again, what is a proportion?
Proportion is a statement of equality between two ratios. Each part of a proportion is a term. The first and last term are called extremes, while the second and third term are called means. In a proportion, the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. You have already learned it on your previous lesson. But still, let's try an example using two methods. First is by using cross-product method since the ratios are written in fraction form. 2:5 is equal to 8:20. In this method, we will simply cross-multiply. 2 times 20 is equals to 40. 5 times 8 is equals to 40. As we can see, the cross products are equal. Therefore, the ratios are proportion. Let's have the second method. It is written in column form. 2:5 is equals to 8:20. So, we will simply multiply the extremes. 2 times 20 is equals to 40. And the means, 5 times 8 is equals to 40. The product of the extremes is equal to the product of the means. Therefore, the ratios are proportion. Let's take another example. Example number 2. 2:4 is equals to 3:n. This time, in a given example, one term is missing. The problem can be solved either by using cross-multiplication or by multiplying the extremes and the means. Let's have first the Method 1. Cross multiplying. We have 2 times n is equals to 2n, and 4 times 3 is equals to 12. In order to get the value of n, we will divide both sides by its numerical coefficient, which is 2. So, 2n divided by 2 equals n. 12 divided by 2 equals 6. Therefore, n is equals to 6. Let's see if we get the same answer if we use the method 2. Let's multiply the extremes and the means. 2 times n equals 2n. 4 times 3 equals 12. Then, divide both sides by its numerical coefficient, which is 2. We get then 2n divided by 2 equals n. 12 divided by 2 equals 6. So, either way or method we use, we will get the same answer. Now, let's try solving this one. Find the missing term in the given proportion. 4:5 is equals to 12:n. It can be solved either by using cross multiplication or by multiplying the extremes and the means. You can use the method that you are comfortable with. Let's use the cross product method. 4 multiplied by n is 4n. 5 multiplied by 12 is 60. Divide both sides by 4. 4n divided by 4 is n. 60 divided by 4 is 15. Did you get the correct answer? Good job! Proportion has 3 types: direct proportion, inverse proportion, and partitive proportion. Let's discuss it one by one. The first type of proportion is direct proportion. In direct proportion, as one quantity increases, the other quantity increases at the same rate and vice versa. Example, Jay's father took the family on a trip. At the average rate of 70 km per hour, how long did it take them to travel a distance of 350 km? If we analyze the problem carefully, the longer distance will require the more time of travel. Since the relationship is between the number of kilometers and the number of hours, we write a proportion in which both ratios are in form kilometer is to hour. The given ratio is 70:1. The second ratio is 350 is to n. We write the two ratios as a proportion. 70:1 is equals to 350 is to n. Using the cross multiplication or by multiplying the extremes and the means will give us the same answer. Let's use the cross multiplication method. 70 times n is 70n. 350 times 1 is 350. Divide both sides by 70. 70n divided by 70 is equals to n. 350 divided by 70 is equals to 5. So, n is equals to 5. Therefore, it took them 5 hours to travel a distance of 350 kilometers. Easy, right? Let's have another example for better understanding. You can try solving this. Lisa saved 60 pesos in 4 weeks. At this rate, how long will it take her to save 300 pesos? The proportion can be written as 60:4 is equals to 300 is to n. You can use the method that you are comfortable with since both will give you the same answer. This time, let's use the multiplying the extremes and the means method. 60 times n equals 60n. 4 times 300 equals 1200. Divide both sides by 60. 60n divided by 60 is equals to n. 1200 divided by 60 is equals to 20. The value of n is 20. That means it will take 20 weeks for Lisa to save 300 pesos. The second type of proportion is inverse proportion. What is an inverse proportion? In an inverse proportion, as one quantity increases, the other quantity decreases at the same rate and vice versa. Let's take this example. If 8 men can do a certain job in 12 days, how many men will be required to do the same job in 16 days? To analyze the given problem, we can deduce that fewer men will be required to finish the same job for a greater number of days. Thus, there are quantities that may not be directly proportional to one another. In this case, an increase in one quantity results in a proportional decrease in the other, and vice versa. This is what we call as inverse proportion. Let us solve the problem using inverse proportion. Let n be the number of men required to do the work in 16 days. Consider, in 12 days, it takes 8 men to do the work. In 16 days, it will take less than 8 men to do the work. Therefore, n will be less than 8. The proportion will be 8:12 is equals to n is to 16. We can solve as inverse proportion by simply multiplying the first and second term, then the third and fourth term. So, 8 times 12 is equals to 96. Then, n times 16 is 16n. 96 is equals to 16n. Divide both sides by 16. 16n divided by 16 equals n. 96 divided by 16 is equals to 6. The value of n is 6. Therefore, 6 men can finish the work in 16 days. Are you following, kids? Let's have another example. Try to solve this on your paper. Example number 2. 12 painters can paint a building in 10 days. How many painters are needed to paint it in 6 days? Write first the given data into a proportion. It would be 12:10 is equals to n is to 16. Now, multiply the first and the second term. Then, the third and fourth term. 12 times 10 is 120. N times 6 is 6n. 120 is equals to 6n. Divide both sides by 6. 120 divided by 6 equals 20. 6n divided by 6 equals n. The value of n is 20. 20 painters are needed to paint a building in 6 days. Did you get the correct answer, kids? Nice one!
Are you still enjoying? Do you want some more? Let's proceed to the third type of proportion, the partitive proportion.
What is a partitive proportion? In partitive proportion, a whole is divided into parts that are proportional to the given ratio. For a better understanding, let's have an example. A glassed jar has 64 lollipops. Mark, Dave, and Ralph will share the lollipops in the ratio 1:1:2. How many lollipops will each one of them get? Write a partitive proportion to solve the problem. In partitive proportion, a whole is divided into parts that are proportional to the given ratio. Let n be the number of lollipops Mark and Dave will each get. Let 2n be the number of lollipops Ralph will get. Write the ratio 1:1:2 as n:2n:2n. Adding the parts and comparing it to the whole part. N plus 2n is equals to 64. N plus n plus 2n is equals to 4n. So, 4n is equals to 64. Divide both sides by 4. 4n divided by 4 is n. 64 divided by 4 is 16. N is equals to 16. Mark and Dave got the same number of lollipops, which is 16. Since Ralph's number of lollipops is represented as 2n, we simply multiply the value of n to 2. 2 times 16 equals to 32. Ralph's number of lollipops is 32. Did you get it, kids? Let's try another example. Example number 2. 3 boys sold garlands in the ratio of 2:3:4. Together, they sold 225 garlands. How many garlands did each boy sell? We will use the same process. Write the ratio 2:3:4 as 2n:3n:4n. Adding the parts and comparing it to the whole part. 2n plus 3n plus 4n is equals to 225. 2n plus 3n plus 4n is equals to 9n. So, 9n is equal to 225. Divide both sides by 9. 9n divided by 9 is n. 225 divided by 9 is 25. N is equals to 25. To identify the number of garlands that the boys sold each, we just have to multiply the value of n to their ratio. For the first boy, we have 2n. 2 times 25 is 50. The first boy sold 50 garlands. As for the second boy, we have 3n. 3 times 25 equals 75. The second boy sold 75 garlands. Then for the third boy, we have 4n. 4 times 25 is 100. The third boy sold 100 garlands. To sum it up, 50 plus 75 plus 100 is equals to 225. Our answer is correct. Did you get it too? Good job, kids!
Now, let's have an activity to see if you really understand our lesson for today. Identify each of the following either as direct proportion, inverse proportion, or partitive proportion, then solve the problem.
Number 1. At the rate of 3 items per 100 pesos, how much will 12 items cost? Is it direct proportion, inverse proportion, or partitive proportion? Yes, you are correct. This is direct proportion. We can write it as 3 is to 100 equals 12 is to n. And now that you identified what proportion it is, you can now solve it. So, what is the value of the missing term? Great! You are correct. The value of n is 400. Number 2. A 6-meter rope will be cut in the ratio 1 is to 2. How long is each part? Is it direct proportion, inverse proportion, or partitive proportion? You are correct, kids. This is a partitive proportion. We can write this as 1n is to 2n equals 6 meters. So, how long is each part? Yes, very good. The first part of the rope is 2 meters long, while the other is 4 meters long. Number 3. If 3 farmers can plow a field in 4 days, how long will 6 farmers plow the same? Is it direct proportion, inverse proportion, or partitive proportion? Yes, this is an inverse proportion. We can write it as 3 is to 4 equals 6 is to n. Now, find the value of the missing term. The answer is 2. Good job, kids! You are all correct.
Are you still with me, kids? Woo! I hope that you understand the ways on how to find the missing term in a proportion. And you'll always matandaan. Again, how do we find the missing terms in a proportion? Very good! Woo! We use the cross-product method or multiplying the means and the extremes method to find the value of the missing term. And what are the types of the proportion that we have discussed? Great! We had the direct proportion, inverse proportion, and partitive proportion. In finding the missing term in a proportion, you must identify first the type of proportion, then apply the appropriate method that's suited to the problem. Finding the missing term in a proportion is really madali. Did you enjoy the lesson? That's great! You are now a certified madali and matibay. That's it, kids. Thank you for your time, little math enthusiasts. I hope that you learned something new from our lesson. Did you enjoy our matalakayan? Oh yes! Clap your hands to celebrate your accomplishment and shout hooray! Once again, this is your teacher Nadia saying goodbye. God bless and keep safe, everyone.